Warning, those who are not familiar with Warhammer 40k Warhammer series, the Emperor is like Texas Speech of Ice, might not get the following references.
Greetings, Imperial citizen. It's me, Yellow. Today, I come to you in complete and utter anguish.
You remind Jova, this is basically my thought process for this final part. Yeah.
You have betrayed the core values of my once beautiful Imperium by being incredibly contrived, unbelievably fucking dense, and being horny beyond any acceptable level.
I'm not hyperboling, by the way.
Up into the good graces to show me the cesspit of your collective thoughts, straining my already fractured being even more than it already fucking is. Looking into this abyss of illogic and hentai made every moment feel like hours of unending pain. And now, citizen, it is your time to suffer as I had.
It's complicated, to believe it.
Warhammer 40k is a very interesting universe.
To post the agonizing opinionated garbage that I have witnessed condemns you to forcibly witness it in its abhorrent entirety.
Okay, here we go.
So, let's start off this part with a bang.
Briefing for the...
what we're about to see.
Yeah, briefing for the final mission. You're gonna listen to this here, right?
Documents for Le Paradox.
It ain't gonna be pretty.
No.
Or good in some people's eyes.
Royalty in the present day. I've managed to inspect some of the documentation, and believe me.
Yeah, basically it's what we said. Le Paradox needs to be stopped before he forges the documents, but what we need to do... Yeah.
Key to stopping him begins with us getting through that security.
Yeah, we need to open a door, so how do we want to do that?
Well, we should be a hacker to go through.
Decibel will deliver the papers to Le Paradox. However, since we don't want to announce our presence, we need a diversion for the guards.
Really?
So I've taken the liberty of fashioning an outfit for Carmelita, who will use it to lure the guards away from the
we're taking the Star Trek V approach.
Okay, you know it, Tio. Let's wait. I have so much to cover, but let's let them fully say it.
Okay, to be fair, Murray actually wanted to get into the dress. It's actually the saving grace of this briefing.
Let Murray be pretty.
Yeah, seriously, let Murray be pretty. I'm with Sheeran, please. Let's not destroy more the character Carmelita. And the thing is that Bentley came up with this, but there's no reason to do this.
So, guys, apparently the mentality was, hey, I know we already destroyed a few characters, but how about we destroy one of our most integral ones? Okay, I'm just gonna say this.
Carmelita, who, by the way, had nothing to do in this chapter until this point, mind you. Like,
they just wanted, you know, yeah.
Oh, and Shira, by the way, it's not a cutscene, by the way.
Okay, Carmelita.
Or maybe at least it's not just a cutscene.
Carmelita.
Remember that minigame that Murray had?
Oh God, he literally said bust him.
To be fair, I can accept that kind of thing for Sly because it's in his character to do less so with Bentley, but whatever.
Oh God,
but
they even put in. They even put in the breast jiggle for her. How nice.
But remember that minigame?
I think someone at Sanzari was pretty
horny, yes, beyond belief, like you mentioned. But it's the thing, Sherry. Remember that rival minigame that we had to do with Murray in the first chapter with Japan? We're doing it again, but with a spin on things. See, and so far it's gonna be pretty much the same, standard rival game fashion. So you know, not really that much.
I'm worried.
Oh, you should be, but don't worry, you'll get your answer in a second.
So, where do I begin? Well, first...
Jova, we're a good moment to begin, because this is still a belly dance, and you need to use the 6 axis for the shaking!
And she gets showered with money for it.
How was this game? What rating did this game get again?
E for everyone ages 10 and up.
Oh, 10 and up. So yeah,
no,
wait.
That's the
basically
thing.
For us, yeah.
Let's take aside for a second, the nature of the game. Okay, like a plane like this, contained in a vacuum, I can actually imagine with the proper context still working. But one, the 6 axis fucking sucks.
Why do they have to zoom in on her belly?
Because
it doesn't even look
like
she's belly
was really
dancing.
horny.
Because the director of this game has the hots for her to enjoy.
It doesn't even look like she's belly dancing. It looks like she's having a Feels like she's trying to get out of that outfit, but can't.
The problem with this is that again, Carmelita's character is assassinated beyond belief.
Okay.
How so?
Well, okay. Dwibs. Carmelita would never do this. Carmelita, despite being hot, did not use her looks to get what she wanted. The closest we get is that time when she disguised herself as the Panda King's
as a bride,
daughter.
but
and even still,
so
it wasn't about using her hots and everything. Like, Carmelita was a by-the-books officer who used practical tactical planning and whatnot. She didn't exploit herself like this. And if you so much as suggested that... Let me put it like this. Carmelita would sooner shoot up the room rather than do this. In fact, why not just shoot these guys?
Why doesn't she just do that? That's more like the Carmelita, which you know from the franchise.
Or a better question,
why did this thing count?
That's how belly dancing is, Duke. But anyway, you were saying, Shiroi?
That's why it looks like. It doesn't look like belly dance.
Well, belly dancing has many different
Is this a
forms.
joke? How many people do you need to open a fucking door?
Don't you see, Dio? Anything to prolong.
We can drag this fucking shit longer and longer.
Oh my god, she was twerking.
They're doing it on purpose, Tia, so you see more of this.
Oh god, that is twerking. Let's
also take aside the whole being an anthropomorphic animal and everything, because that's a kind of worms I don't even want to jump into, you know? Yeah.
I'm gagging and vomiting at the same time. I'm going.
The vomiting is what's making you gag, sir.
Thank you, Dr.
The booze tastes so great today.
You could have replaced them kissing with a picture of what was just going on.
I am okay. I'm like Pedro mentioned on his own. I'm a good editor, but not that good.
Also, I have a better question.
Yes.
Why didn't you let Murray do it? He wanted to do it.
Remember, what else is she sure? According to Bentley, Murray wouldn't be hot enough. That, and also he wouldn't be...
And again, someone and Sansa really was. And also, by the way, Salim is using the excuse of, I need to stay behind to guard the fort. Well, in reality, he just wants to ogle at Carmelita. Once again, having the whole, Carmelita is, entertaining herself with the ancestors of Sly, which is super creepy.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is why a lot of Sly fans didn't like this one.
Look, like I said, as someone who's actually mostly okay with stuff that this game pulls, this shit is still unexcusable.
It's like I said, this is bad fan fiction. Carmelita, okay, and you know what? That's literally about a fan fiction. A character who normally would not exploit themselves, suddenly showing off them goods for the sake of the plot, and totally not a way for the writer to get his jollies off.
I have to say, okay, in terms of character assassination, we got away from the very worst. It's still not over, mind you. There's still one or two moments that we need to actually get through. But believe it or not, the worst is technically behind us with this. The focus now is to actually get to the Paradox's blimp.
That said, though, folks, just because we may be through with the worst of the character assassination, don't think we're done with this story's problems.
Well, the story is not over yet, anyway.
And again, folks, consider this, that T.O. squeezed the last 2 chapters into this part. You can tell some crap's about to go down, and, well, like I said, every time you think, oh, this game isn't that bad, you get something really bad that reminds you, oh wait, that's right, this is why people mostly don't like this game.
Also, for this particular reason, the RC car is given a fixed camera perspective. That's interesting.
Doing this in 2013.
Well, it's more of a stylistic choice more than than anything.
Well, yeah, you can call it a stylistic choice. I call it outdated and inconvenient. That's why I can't play the original Devil May Cry games.
Because
No, okay, to be fair, as you can see, the path is linear anyway. Again, it's stylistic for the fact that it's showcased from just a different perspective, but otherwise it's not like you're completely out of control anyway.
Oh no, they're chasing after that RC car that's very slowly getting away.
You know, whoever's in charge of this really needs to fire her guards. Such a waste of money.
You know, one thing we haven't touched base on much is the music in this game here. There's something I have noticed when transitioning from something like MIDI to something more orchestral here and there. Now, bear with me. When normally the idea is that, oh, when something sounds more orchestral, it can sound cleaner, smoother, not MIDI and whatnot. However, there's one thing I've noticed with a lot of games when a sequel goes to having a better sound chip or having better music. Sometimes the composers get a bit lazy with it. What do I mean? Well, okay, hold on, Dribs, let me finish. When something is MIDI or chiptunes, you obviously won't sound as great. So therefore, a lot of times composers often have to absolutely work their butts off to make it sound like something that's memorable, something that's very keen. Yeah.
From adversity, like I always say.
Exactly. Wait. What do you mean by? Yeah.
The artist has to be clever to circumvent his limitations.
Exactly. So when you get something that's more orchestral, I'm not saying it's always the case, but a lot of cases with a lot of game series, sometimes stuff could just become more generic. Because like, oh, well, now the music sounds fine, so I don't have to try as much. I'm not saying that's always the case, but that has been the case with a lot of series. Was it the case with this game? Yeah, I'm gonna say yes and no. For the most part, the tracks I'd say are actually pretty good, but there are some cases where a lot of the music can also be not as memorable as the original trilogy, I feel.
No, this one I strongly just disagree on that.
Yeah,
I still maintain on the idea that this is actually the best soundtrack in the entire franchise.
I'm gonna echo Tio.
Well, okay, I'm not saying it for the actual sound quality. I'm talking about how the pieces actually are composed. Like, not the fact that it's not MIDI but orchestra, but the actual compositions themselves.
Yeah. What do you think, Pedro?
I mean, maybe.
No, go ahead.
Maybe it's because out of all of us, I've been the easiest on this game, although it hasn't really been saying a whole lot, even in the earlier parts. But yeah, this music's actually is actually pretty good because it shows that at least one person in the development team still remembered what it was supposed to be doing.
Mind you,
it's the only return that's
There we go.
And mind you,
that's the thing that Pedro didn't do the first game.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but he's
Yeah, remember, I did mention when we commented it was done by the composer of Crash Nitro Kart. I forgot his name.
He has been around since Game 2 anyway, though. But mind you, I'm not saying that the soundtrack of this game is overall bad. I'm just saying that some of the tracks do feel like they're not as great as stuff from the original trilogy. Whether or not that's because of the bit I'd mentioned about with the art from adversity thing is up for debate, but I do still feel like it may not be the best soundtrack. What did you think, Pedro?
And we need a number 6 axis at him in the game. Fuck me!
Perfect.
Spencer Joe, for me, okay, maybe I'll have to listen to all 4 soundtracks back to back on my own outside of the game. But based on my experience with these, with all 4 of these soundtracks, they sound all about on par with each other to me. Like some have better pieces than others. They all basically sound on the same level. They're all really good. Some of them have like for example, this one has a higher quality instrumentation. But that's really about the only advantage that I can think of off the top of my head.
Well, I can argue that there's a lot more diversity in in the genres of the pieces, which not only reflects the time period, but also different situations.
I would argue that the other games managed to have that variety as well, just by going to
stop
drastically
showing me
different...
Bentley's eyes, thank you.
Oh god, why?
It's not allowed.
No.
This game, this game keeps constantly going into places it should not go.
Oh shit.
Bentley, what just happened?
I'm not sure. I have must have tripped some kind of fail-safe backup.
Of course there's always a fail-safe. Well, for this occasion, for this particular next piece, we just need to have Mary throw the actual goose into the turret, so you destroy all the fuses there. Go on, Pedro.
I'm trying to think of a different example that fits what Jova was saying on my own, but I was only coming up with the opposite. That being said, Jova, there's also times when the opposite happens. something akin to Richard Jock being really good with the CD audio he did for Sonic 3D Blast and Sonic R, but then when he went on to make music for a DS game, yeah, the less said about that game soundtrack, the better. So sometimes there's the opposite happens.
Oh shit, we're too late.
So...
Hi, Le Paradox.
If we weren't able to stop him, doesn't that make
Also,
the whole...
stop doing gestures.
Yeah, if we weren't able to stop him now, doesn't that kind of make the whole Carmelita getting those scantily clad thing pointless?
It's about to get even worse.
We haven't lost Paradox.
Oh no! Bonjour, my last friend. What took you so long?
Oh shit. And Celine got beaten up off screen and his cane got stolen off screen. This is the culmination of the contrivance.
Scoundrel, unconscious outside.
Actually, he's yesterday's trash. Precisely why I threw him away.
Why didn't you just kill him? Again, you could technically win right now just by killing any of these ancestors, you imbecile.
Bond syndrome, Jova. Gotta wave your dick in front of the good guy to show how much of a bigger dick you have than him.
That's the thing. Later on, the characterization that we learn of Le Paradox will completely contradict that. If anything, going off of what his character actually wants, he should just kill one of them. And come to think of it, how does Sly still have his cane? Shouldn't, like, any of his ancestors' canes being stolen have, like, affected how...
I think he's about to mention. Oh, actually no. Basically, the gist is that now their boss fight with Miss Decibel is gonna be kind of like of a sort of a race, because the first who manages to get onto the blimp will manage to actually catch up Le Paradox, but you know, it's not exactly, you know, an easy comparison. Oops.
These are the rarest boss fights you see outside of Sonic.
If they return to the present and Le Paradox establishes a royal ancestry for himself, all of our futures are in peril.
Why haven't they been in peril this entire time? Technically, the future should be an absolute mess now.
Oh, but Salim is fine, don't worry.
He'll be fine, Sly. Right now, you've gotta stop that pachiderm.
I'm on, like stink on a skunk.
Also, Sly to crush one homage with the monitor with the Paradox face. Cute.
How nice.
But yeah, the boss fight consists in a bit of a mixture. Like, you have some platforming elements where you need to actually dodge stuff and jump on fragile platforms, and then the actual combat section where you need to actually take down Miss Decibel.
Ah, but wait a minute, Gio. If Salim was caught while watching Carmelita, what happened to Carmelita?
Well, we don't know yet.
You don't know yet.
Hey, look! A bit of Crash Bandicoot Entropy, homage as well.
Basically, the costume is imperative to dodge most of the attacks from Miss Decibel.
Oh my god, this really is the Entropy boss battle.
Which Entropy's used this kind of... Actually, Crash has used this kind of boss a lot. Sound waves as a hit point in the boss.
Okay. When I mentioned at the end of Sly 3 that Sly could not use his power to jump on lasers, I guess this is the kind of exception.
He's
because
jumping
this
on
is a thing.
He's jumping on literal sound waves.
These are basically used, basically a representation of Miss Decibel's note.
That's my point,
line. But again, they're treated like ropes. But again, good composition, I guess you can count them as lasers.
That's
which
my point.
I guess is an incorporation of the public.
That's my point. Because it's sound, he's literally walking on sound waves. And it kind of means that she's a bit of an idiot because he wouldn't be able to reach her if she didn't do that.
In the meantime, Joe, I came up with an example akin to what you were talking about. Being a big Echo the Dolphin fan, I really like Spencer Nilsson's work. However, I think his work on the Mega Drive versions of Echo 1 and 2 the compositions overall are better than the CD counterparts for the CD versions, because while the instrumentation, of course, is much higher quality on the Sega CD versions of those games, the new melodies are way more bland and way less memorable and atmospheric. So yeah, I can definitely see what you mean.
I'm going to add it to my collection.
Actually, how was the... Sorry, go on, sorry.
Instead, like I was saying, the opposite can also happen. When Junsenu has a guitar in his hands, he can perform magic. When trying to do synth music for Sonic 4, well, we all know how that turned out. Yes.
For the record, I'm just checking for a collectible, so pardon me if I just stumbled a bit. But actually, how was the soundtrack for the Dreamcast game Defender of Time? It's called Defender of the Future.
It's fine, but that's it. Yeah. Like, it's not that bad. It's just like it works when you're playing the game, but it's not something you'd want to go out of your way to listen.
Defenders of the Realm is one of those movies that, weirdly enough,
okay, that's Mortal Kombat, Jova. That's
I think you're, no, Defenders of the Realm. That's the Mortal Kombat cartoon. I think you mean
Defender of the Future.
The Future. Sorry, the Future.
Defender of the Future feels like one of those games that was sort of trying to be more like a movie than a game. Weirdly enough.
And yes,
I play an Echo the Dolphin Mortal Kombat crossover.
And yes, for the record, I got the collectible here as well as I can because I really don't want to backtrack to do again the minigame with Carmelita. The boss fight, like I said, the boss fight is perfectly fine, actually.
Yeah, that's right, though. If you die, you do have to go back to the Carmelita minigame.
No. The checkpoint is actually pretty fine, and you restart at the last moment you did damage to Miss Decibel. I'm talking just about the backtrack in redoing the mission just for the collectible that I missed entirely.
Another example that I can think of, actually, right now that I'm thinking about it, is Mickey Mania. While I do like the Sega CD version soundtrack, which was later also ported to the PS1 version, there are some tracks on the original Mega Drive version that are better, like the Moose Chase level. That's the best version of that level's theme is definitely on the Mega Drive. It has a way catchier tune than what we got in the CD versions of that game.
Okay. Next phase.
It's one of those cases where it doesn't have just the composers, the artists all around. Like sometimes developers will get over enthusiastic with the new technology that's now available to them. That's always been Paul Duggan, and I concur with his theory about King's Quest V and why that game has so much moon logic to it.
Well, there is another example that I could make that fits your criteria, Pedro, but you probably won't like it. So.
Well, okay then. With King's Quest V, you really get the feeling that the developers got way too enthusiastic.
Don't worry, we'll get it back. Like, I don't even get why Sly actually drops it here. Yeah, it was conveniently there.
Don't you see, we got to see him without his hat.
Like, it's fine. I don't really mind that. It's
not like Judge Dredd without his helmet or anything.
Alright, final phase. Now you cannot actually damage properly Miss Decibel, so this is another type of bullfight. You have to essentially keep the fight going until you can actually bait her into crashing to those electric spires that are on top of the blimp. Gone in the meantime.
No, it really is like King's Quest V compared to some of the previous games, especially King's Quest 4. Does have a lot of moon logic to it, and a lot of some theories go that developers probably got a bit too enthusiastic with making the game look pretty. That they forgot and which is why King's Quest 6 is such a huge improvement, where it tries to actually have more logical puzzles in comparison to putting a fucking piece of cheese on a machine to make it switch magic wands. So, like it really is one of those cases where you can feel that the puzzle logic was left as the last priority in the game's development. It really shouldn't be the case in a King's Quest game at all. Carry on. You were saying, Joe?
Yeah, like, for example, the boss music of this boss, I don't really feel it's that memorable compared to, say, the boss music of the other bosses. Again, I'm not gonna act like the soundtrack as a whole is bad, but I do feel like it is. You could make arguments for it being the weakest and least memorable of it, at least made by Peter Cullen.
Yeah, no, I still disagree on that. Sorry.
So we'll have to agree to disagree.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, though. So, what are your thoughts on this boss fight in particular? Me personally, I feel like it maybe wears out its welcome a bit too much. Like, maybe this could have happened sooner. Also, it kind of, again, falls into boss stupidity. How she could have gotten away on the airship, but instead she just chooses to come down towards Sly and crush him.
Well, that's the thing. Le Paradox did actually ask her to kill him if she wants to get on board, so...
Oh, here's another example, actually. It's abundantly clear that Mr. Toriyama got way too enthusiastic with the new shiny graphics of the PS3 for Final Fantasy 13. So, yeah, that was the priority when making that game, clearly.
What does that have to do with Masashi Amazu and his core?
No, I'm talking about artists in general getting way
Oh, okay.
I mean, it happens with composers, but it happens to fields of art, basically.
Shit.
Cyril, open the hatch. Let me in.
I don't think so. You see, we have already reached
Oh, here we go. I think he's gonna mention it now. Yeah, Carmelita got captured off screen!
Brilliant.
Oh.
But it's okay.
Fuck!
But guys, it's okay. Her breasts still jiggle.
Okay, the only positive thing that I will give to this is that Carmelita is actively trying to fight back. But, again, it will... yes. Yeah.
Jilted lover. Actually,
also guilty just then.
Also, Le Paradox is such a classy person.
Not for nothing. Not for nothing, Le Paradox, but leaving the woman you've just scorned in the past, which she could still alter to screw you over.
You're just setting up an entire descendant of people who are gonna hate you.
Yeah, I mean,
this is like Dracula creating the Belmonts.
Like, I mean, okay, but at the very least, take her with you and then backstab her in the present. Like, again, your plan only works because you affected the past that you're leaving her in.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh my
Jesus
God.
Christ.
Okay, I mean, he's the villain, so...
Okay, yes, Lives, but again, compare this to how she was captured in the first game and how Clockwork tied her up and everything. It was done in a more Bond-esque fashion, and in order to actually lure Sly into it. Here, again, it's blatantly just someone in the development team having a boner for Carmelita. Pure and simple.
Not only that...
Even Bond villains could act a bit like this as well.
Not only that, but the problem with this game is that this game really tries to make Le Paradox to be like the ultimate villain for Sly. Seriously.
No, again, General Tsao was a much more despicable person than you, sorry.
Not just that. His plan is so... he says so many stupid things that...
So,
oh yeah,
we managed to get Miss Decibel in prison, but at what cost? Yeah.
Cost of the character's dignity.
Wait, hold on. Doesn't that cutscene imply that they sent her back to the present?
Yeah.
So why not just go to the present and deal with it, you morons?
Even in general, Jova, you notice the katana that Carmelita supposedly destroyed is now intact again?
And it's one amazing katana.
Okay, and here's another thing. Dimitri is telling them what's going on, so technically the future is being affected. Shouldn't Dimitri be affected as well?
Yeah, it should have been affected as soon as they left the time, because due to how instantaneous the changes happen, this is the problem. This is why stories like Terminator stays, at least the first couple of ones, at least try to focus just on the past, because due to the instantaneous changes to the future they bring, you need to just focus there instead of actually seeing the outcome.
Not only that, but at least with the first two movies, Terminator wasn't about, you know, constantly changing things around. Obviously that changed by the time of Terminator Genesis, but, you know. Like, again, does Dimitri just have some special charm? Oh wait, hold on, backstory.
Yeah.
Then we made a major discovery. I knew that my dad's heist
Yep,
of the world's
it's the
largest
sins of
diamond
the
had made
father
a
kind of
legendary
arc.
thief. But what I never knew was that Le Paradox's father had planned to steal it first, and frame my dad for the crime. Only he was a little
Also,
too
footage
slow.
of the only time we see Sly's father like that, and not shown are Dr. M and Max Sweeney for some reason. Whatever.
Paradox had no one to teach him the family business.
Yeah, and apparently this is running on the idea that if you're part of a family of thieves, but you don't get the upbringing, you're not capable of doing properly the job. Keep in mind, the entirety of the first game was to prove that Sly could forge his own skills without having to depend to the previous raccoons.
So, let me just do a recap, folks. The reason Le Paradox is angry at Sly is because his father wanted to frame Sly's father for a crime his father didn't commit, only for Sly's father to steal the treasure and for Le Paradox's dad to get jailed like the idiot he was. In which case, he's mad at Sly for his own dad being an idiot.
Again, it's not even that. First of all, we don't even get the name of the episode, shame on you. Second, even on its own, that's clearly the weakest of the backstories of the main villains of the series. I'm sorry, that really cannot be ignored.
It's so petty.
Yeah. And even so, Sherry, it's just weak. Compared to Dr. M's obsession with the Cooper bot and his more attachment to Sly's father, or Clockwork, the entire stick, or even the stakes put up by the Claw Gang. This is just small potatoes and is magnified just by the fact of the time changes.
Like, take it up with your dad if he's still alive.
And mind you, guys, this game still has the goal to suggest that
the Paradox should be happy. The Paradox should have been happy for the fact that the Fiendish Five killed his rival. But
And
no, he doesn't even mention that.
And like I mentioned, if Le Paradox hates Sly this much, why didn't he just kill one of the ancestors? Kill one of the ancestors, boom, Sly's out of the way. Like, you essentially control everything.
Also, you can completely ignore this kind of back because just like in the first game.
How nice of Le Paradox to change Carmelita back into her clothes, which implies that he stripped her naked.
Brilliant.
Damn it. That's not
but look,
ominous
it's
at all.
it's so artistically presented here. Look at that.
I just want to remind you though, Le Paradox.
Game thinks it's God of War 3 now, apparently.
Who could have seen that coming?
Drink. It looks like they trapped in a
Also,
cup.
yeah, for another thing I forgot to mention, Jujova, well, it could have been worse. It could have turned out that the Paradox is secretly Sly's father and he hates him because his father did not love him as much. But I'm sure no other products will do that.
Can you imagine? Wait. But then, who would have been the person who died in the start of Sly 1 then? If the Paradox
The
was
father.
Sly's...
I'm talking about the Paradox being Sly's actual brother.
Oh, his brother.
Again, I'm mostly referencing Spectre.
That would be so messed up. Yeah.
Well, Tia.
Oh, by the way, off screen. By the way,
that's not
hold on.
entirely accurate because Spectre's an alternate continuity to the other Bond films.
Anyway,
whatever.
by the way, Bentley brought all the past ancestors. And, you know, this should be an amazing scene, but it just happens. Like, again, it feels like we're rushing through this stuff all of a sudden.
Yeah, especially because compared to the previous final levels, these go on super fast. You still have, like, the gauntlet, with, in this case, the ancestors, each ancestor having to do their own part in retrieving their own canes and going back to their own time. But that's just it. Then you immediately cut back, kind of like to the final boss, and that's it. Compared to even the first game, which had a lot of things that you were supposed to do, or even the second game where you had an actual entire level to go through instead of an attrition level.
Also, seriously, The Paradox, you didn't even bother to put these canes behind glass or something, dingus?
Or even put actual guards around it.
Like, again, this is the supposed criminal mastermind that's been dodging our heroes at every length and has been constantly getting the drop on them. Just, no! Like, for as much as I hated Penelope being a villain, her being the mastermind would have made more sense than the paradox of how much of an idiot he is, which again brings me back to my theory that maybe she was supposed to be the main bad guy, but for some reason they shoehorned in Le Paradox at the last second.
Paradox is so silly at this point that at this point might as well have them be voiced by John Cleese doing his French accent from Holy Grail.
Like I said, Nolan North is trying to make the accent to give the character personality, but again, it's pretty clear that he's still just doing it for the job and nothing more. Again,
I fired in your general direction.
Again, when his work as Lucky's father in Spearheading 3 manages to get more passion behind it, you have a problem.
And don't worry, folks, we still have the final boss to cover, which also sucks, but in its own special way.
Yeah, we're about to get it anyway. Because now the thing is that now that an ancestor gets the cane for another, the time stream is readjusting somehow, which would mean that the ancestor has to disappear back to their own time.
Oh, so
say
now...
goodbye to Steve Blum.
Oh, so now you pay mind to how the time stream works. It's like, I wouldn't have been able to tell that anything got affected with how the canes work, but whatever.
Now it's up to Bob, which finally, in this final portion, actually uses his cane. So, there's a plus.
Remember, Jova, stuff like this is always forgotten until the plot needs it.
This is the problem, though. Like, when doing a time travel story, I get that it's gonna be complicated, but this is blatantly stupid. That's
the thing, Jova. There are easy elements to not make it complicated.
But they didn't take them.
No. Again, it shows a case of, the writer in this case being confident enough and say, oh, don't worry, this manages to work out in the end because everything readjusted somehow.
Come to think of it, Tio, in the last part, you mentioned a huge leak which suggested that this game was going to be more social
completely
media...
different, basically.
Okay, I wonder, what was what you were describing, was that like more so a mode in this game, or was that actually going to be the main premise instead of the time travel?
This I actually don't know, Jova, to be honest. Again, it's only the first time we got this particular information, and it's kind of baffling when you get down to it. The fact that the game was supposed to be completely different and got basically rescrapped in its entirety at some point.
The way you described it seems to suggest that it may have been like a multiplayer mode or something, because, again, it sounds very, very different from how the stuff went in this actual game. And I get it, stuff can change, but I really do get the feeling that time travel was always supposed to play a part in stuff here and there, because like...
apparently not, because it seems it was going to be a mixture of stuff like Metal Gear Solid 5, and some of the features that Infamous Second Son had. So
well,
that's surprising.
Well, that's why I asked if that was supposed to be like a different mode, or if we know for sure that that's what the main premise was going to be about.
Again, the percentage does tell that it was supposed to be like only part of it, not a small part of it, not a big one, but not a completely small one either. I think it was like 20%. But again, I linked the article. You can check it later anyway.
That's
now
what
it's
makes
up to Salim retrieving Sir Gallet's cane.
That is what makes me think that maybe it was supposed to be an extra mode as opposed to something completely different, because I mean, for as much problems as this has, it does feel like time travel was always going to be their plan, because they definitely do feel dedicated with it, despite clearly not knowing how time travel works. Like, I'm sorry, but this is kind of in the same tier of time travel stupidity as Final Fantasy XIII 2's, and I mean it. No. Hear me out here. Sure, yeah, we don't have stupid stuff like the future affecting the past, even though we kind of sort of do, seeing as how certain time frames from people getting this or that before the past ancestor somehow causes them to disappear before said past ancestor, which it should affect, but whatever, this is like one section here, like with 32, that was the whole thing. But even if it doesn't have that, it still has blatantly stupid stuff like It's either they just didn't care, or they clearly don't know how it works. Like, the idea of a time travel story is to see how stuff can affect stuff when you affect the time stream. What we've seen is very limited, and again, is not even consistent with how it works here. Again, by the logic that, oh, the ancestors are now disappearing even though it was just as easy to pull them out from their time dates. By that logic, things should have gotten affected every second. Dimitri was just fine the entire time, and apparently he noticed the changes too, so... Okay, so if he can notice the changes, did nobody else in real life notice? Hey guys, we're suddenly worshipping a skunk like he's God or something. What's up with that? It doesn't make sense.
In terms of stories for video games that released in 2013 that had half-decent gameplay but the plots pissed people off. That ones that we've commentated on anyway.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, a lot of this, quite a few bits and pieces of this game story have been rather, well, as what we Brits would call it, daft.
Oops.
Dead.
How would you feel if I told you I still think Gears of War Judgment was worse than this? Because at least this game doesn't constantly repeat stuff every 5 minutes.
I mean, I can get where you're coming from.
That's the worst of this year.
I don't believe we need to be judged in different ways.
What story, sorry, Pedro?
Time and Eternity.
Oh, Time and Eternity.
That also came out in 2013.
Yeah, 2013, that seems to be the year of video games with controversial stories. There was this, there was Gears of War Judgment, there was Bioshock Infinite.
Well, on the plus side, at least they saved the best ancestor for last.
I can tell you that despite having its own potential set of problems, I argue Bioshock Infinite handled the idea of different timelines and different universes much better than this.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, I have my issues with Bioshock Infinite, but the way it handled its different timelines and universes was one of its more clever things. But yeah, like I said, at least they saved the best ancestor for last.
The last section is about Tennessee having to open a path for the others, for Bentley and Murray to reach the control room.
The primary issue is just this plot is completely brainless.
And it really falls apart by the end. Like, let me put it like this. When we started off, the plot may not have seemed as bad. But like I said, it's all about how stuff accumulates.
It just goes gradually downhill, progressively. Like,
and then by chapter 4... And then by chapter 4, we pretty much go down mountain with how steep the downfall is. Chapter 5 seems like it's gonna be fine, but then we have that goddamn Carmelita moment. And now we have the very chaotic finish. It's like, I'll just say this right now. It may not feel bad seeing as how we've gotten to play these games all close to one another, but imagine being a Sly fan. Imagine waiting 8 years for a new game, and this is what you got.
Exactly. Now you know exactly. You also have to understand from the perspective, like what Joe said. Yeah, perspective from Sly fans. You were waiting 8 years for another Sly game, and this is what you get: a game that ruins some of the main characters. That kind of thing will leave hardcore fans with a really bad taste on their mouths.
Yeah.
Oops.
Try again.
Like the gameplay is fine, like we've said, but it's not like super duper brilliant to the point where it saves the game. Metal Gear Solid 5 Stories has a lot of issues, but the gameplay of that game is so fucking brilliant that it single-handedly saves that game. Not to mention the great soundtrack by Ludwig Forster.
Definitely. And somehow this will...
Alright, here we go.
But no, it is the two of you of whom I am thinking. To be together forever.
Hey, Le Paradox, weren't you all having the hots for Carmelita before?
No,
now you want to kill her?
To take her hostage.
So what was the point of him ditching, you know, his old love interest for Carmelita?
Like, the dialogue suggested that he wasn't really caring about her in the first place.
But that's the thing, though. Like, well, she could have been useful, but he's doing the stupid thing. And yeah, we can argue Bond villain stupidity and all that, but no, this is getting rid of very useful people, and again, leaving somebody in the past. Well, okay, now she's technically in the future, but he doesn't know that.
But yeah, the Paradox plan is to activate a particular portal, the one we're using for the blimp, to just send Sly and Carmelita into whatever time age left there to float for eternity in that box.
This is stupid. Why not just kill them? If you send them through time and eternity, no pun intended, that just gives them all the more chance to potentially screw with your operations.
Here we go.
Why not just come after me? What's the deal?
Exactly. Answer that.
The deal is you, Coopers. You destroyed my...
No, your father destroyed himself.
But not quite. And when I rebuilt myself, I swore I would erase the Cooper...
So basically, you just wanted someone to blame.
It's not written well. It's not written well. He's not compelling. He's been a buffoon up until this point. Trying to make him deep all of a sudden is like trying to shovel water off the Titanic.
And there you go. Tennessee's one last act before disappear is to free them from the box, which
how does that cause him
easily with a bullet?
How does that even cause him to disappear?
Well, that was the last thing that he could do anyway. But hold on, Paradox is such an idiot when he accidentally activated the portal, meaning that everything is about to collapse on its own.
Again, our genius villain, everyone.
So basically his plan was to just leave him bouncing around time and space for eternity.
Yeah, so apparently we could just leave him there, but Sly is like, no, I have to take it personally, because I don't know where he could have up. No, you don't.
It's just like in Dr. Track. The villain basically defeats himself.
Well, I wish it could be that simple, because that would be a much better ending. By the way, Sly, I love you. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, sure. Nobody's buying that because you completely ruined this for us.
Alright, here we go. On paper it sounds pretty neat. Again, swashbuckling type of duel similar to the one between Penelope and Captain Lefouille, right? On the two on the pole having to sword fight with each other, like with his cane and the Penelope with his rapier, right? Oh, first you need to chase him down. Like so. But the entire fight is a QTE mash.
Like,
look,
wow.
No, but let me.
Go on.
As someone who would normally defend QTEs until the day I die, this is kinda unexcusable.
Making your final fight a QTE battle is it's such a lame trend tracing move to do in games.
When the final fight against Navarro in the first Uncharted has more interactivity than this, you have a problem. I'm sorry.
As I say, I can't remember the last time you haven't raged at a QT.
Actually, that's mostly you or Jova. I'm mostly tolerant towards them.
Well, to Dibs' credit, you didn't like how the entirety of the ending of Son of Rome was a giant QTE.
I forgot, sorry.
But yeah, I mean, seriously, this is lame. The big bad, who you're finally facing off against, and you just make his final fight a QTE. I didn't like it in Batman Arkham Origins, and I don't like it here.
Wait, Arkham Origins? You're actually supposed to still beat up the Joker on your own.
In the church after you fight Bane.
Yeah, it doesn't actually ask you to mash the square button. You're supposed to do it on your own.
Well, okay. It's mainly just button prompts, like technically a QTE battle more than anything.
Well, Joe, by that logic, even the final fight against the Penguin in Arkham Asylum, it's like Arkham City counts that, like that.
Jova, Arkham Origins also came out in 2013.
Oh my God!
I can tell you it doesn't deal with time travel at the very least.
Okay, might as well ask too. You said in our Son of Rome playthrough that your big problem with the QTE there was that no matter how good you do at the QTE, Marius will still die regardless. So would you say this is at the very least better just because if you do well, Sly will at the very least survive this?
I actually haven't tried failing. I don't know.
well, I'm assuming... Well, no,
hold on. We're about to get some more explanation.
Let me get one thing straight. You came after the Coopers because of what happened to your father?
No, you imbecile! I came after the Coopers to prove that Le Paradox is the greatest thief who has ever lived. Is there any doubt? Ask yourself this. If the Coopers were truly the greatest thieves in history, and I have stolen their most valued possessions, then what does that make me?
An idiot?
Yeah.
You had it made.
Yeah.
You could have been the biggest thief of all time, but you had to target my ancestors and blow your own cover. You exposed your operation because of your ego.
No, because he's an idiot.
And for the record,
Well, having an ego means that you're an idiot.
It's
Sorry.
like I said with Shinjoku. Trying to say... Yeah, with protagonist.
Great retort.
Come on.
It's like, yeah, talk all you want, I'm gonna kill you.
But yeah, no, like, well, okay. I've personally never been failed this one when I played it too. But I'm assuming if you missed the QTE,
I hope so. I really hope so. That would be the ultimate insult if you don't even die.
Okay, giving the game the benefit of the doubt, and let's just assume if you fail the QTE, you'll just die and go to the last checkpoint of this battle. The basic point is, okay, there. So at the very least, if you do the QT fine here and succeed, Sly will win and beat the villain. That's not the case with Marius in Rome, which you still said you had a problem with. So would you say this is at the very least
wait, hold on, guys. This scene.
Yeah, there's also this.
Okay, so he's pretty much beat.
Sorry, pal. You just can't plan for a Cooper.
Just please.
No.
Why should I?
That's very convincing.
Why? Okay. Let's do a recap. Sly 1, Sly killed the bad guy. Sly 2, Sly and company killed the bad guy. Sly 3, they didn't necessarily kill the bad guy, but they didn't save him.
To die. Yeah.
Why are they saving what is arguably the most dangerous foe ever? This guy wrecked the entire world with time, and Sly lets him get away, which, not only that, lets Le Paradox steal his parachute.
By the way, he survives this, so... Yeah, that's also the ultimate insult. The Paradox doesn't even die. Like...
Maybe they're saving him for a sequel?
No, okay. I can tell you this, I get the idea that... plans for the sequel involved something else, but I'll mention in the credits because now we're about to get the ending and my reaction to it, basically.
Oh, here we go.
The scout could barely tread water.
Goody.
So by the time they picked him up, he was happy to see
So
him.
yeah, arrested.
Word is he earned a special
Hooray.
solitary confinement, where
That clearly will show him.
His gray hair. Both Paris and the Thieves raccoons were back to normal, but that hardly made us feel any better. At first, we just waited, assuming Sly would show up, the way he always did. But as the days stretched into weeks, we had to face the fact that he was truly lost.
Yep.
We've stopped talking about it all the time, but I know it's all we're thinking about, even if we show it in different ways.
Dimitri.
Murray seems like his usual cheerful self, but I can tell there's a new level of seriousness underneath it all. He's on the professional wrestling circuit now, and he's really been pushing himself. I know he's doing it to keep his fighting skills sharp. Like all of us, he wants to be ready for action the minute we locate Sly. Carmelita returned to Interpol, where she threw herself into her work, busting criminals at a record pace. She's been so busy, I haven't seen her for a while now. My sources tell me she's conducting her own
Yeah, she's still trying to search for Sly.
Out of everyone, I think she took his disappearance the hardest. Even if she never shows
a pancake at somewhere.
At least not in public. As for myself, I continue to search. Even using all my technology, I haven't found a clue.
Which is kinda dumb, but when something similar happened in the DC universe, Batman left some clues in the past to be found.
Yeah.
The DC universe.
Well, I was mostly just giving an example. But hold on, basically that's your sequel hook, because Sly is lost and the game will have to try to find him.
Oh.
And yeah, that's basically how the game ends, but stay tuned for a second,
pretty
please.
much how it went. Now that you understand the severity of your collective actions, appropriate punishments will begin in 5, 4, 3.
Father.
Holy fucking shit. Rogel, how long have you been standing there?
I have been here the entire time, Father.
Oh no.
And I must say that almost everything I've witnessed has been cringe.
Rogel, what have you done?
It was not keck. It was cringe, Father.
Fucking cut it out.
Cringe-based cringe crap.
Yeah, thank you.
I agree, my son. All of it, from start to finish, was nothing but embarrassing to me and to the Imperium at large.
On the fuck down.
Thankfully, none of this was actually canon, right? Good.
No. Bad.
Shut it, you living, breathing lemonade stand. Roll the credits, god damn it.
Yeah.
Who are you speaking to?
Anyway, let's see what
the
ancestors and the villains are doing. Might as well give this not sad.
Yeah. Did the writers seriously ask not to be credited?
I wonder. Anyway, let's see the after for, you know, where they are now, Bits.
Is it loading?
El Jefe remains behind bars. He was transferred to a South American prison, where he now works rolling cigars. Unfortunately for him,
the irony.
He has to make the cigars he loves, but he ain't allowed to smoke them.
Can't smoke them. Okay, that's actually good.
Yeah, it's karmic punishment.
Also, these credits, they unfortunately blend because they're a little too light. Oh, this bit.
Tennessee Kid Cooper recovered his gold and his place in history as the greatest outlaw of the Old West. His legend grew even bigger when he began stealing from crooked lawmen exclusively.
Aha! A bit of a Robin Hood.
Western Robin Hood.
Yep.
So
surprisingly, yeah. I think it's Toothpick. Yeah.
Toothpick was arrested and became part of a chain gang working on the railroads. He eventually went deaf and faded into obscurity.
Oh God!
Oops.
He's coming!
Yes, he basically probably got killed by a train
because he couldn't hear it
and
coming.
Yes, he stayed back in the past. Toothpick basically just dies like that in the past.
Caveman Cooper kept up his physical training and returned to his role as egg thief extraordinaire. Perhaps most importantly, he pioneered the use of his cane as a tool for thieving.
Ta-da!
So what happened to the Grease instead?
He went home and retired.
The Grizz received a lengthy prison sentence and began a new career as a rap artist. In his spare time, he paints portraits of his fellow inmates.
How nice.
How lovely.
Yes, I'm sure they appreciate it.
Very much so.
Sir Gallup Cooper returned to his heroic adventures and went on to form the Knights of the Cooper Order.
As they were described in the Thieves Raccoonus.
Nobility. He also became a successful, if overly dramatic, actor.
I mean, Cyril Owen thought you want to use him for that.
It's the theatre, you kind of have to be a bit over dramatic at points.
And of course, just like with Tennessee, he stole from the corrupt.
Penelope was sent to Europe's highest security prison, where she promptly escaped.
Yeah, she's
basically,
a Karma Houdini.
that's your upper sequel who Penelope is out there and probably for revenge. I have something to say on the matter, but that one is reserved for the
Oh, and how
thoughts.
nice. She sends Bentley her love. And
again, that's your other major hint.
Well, I mean, a tech genius like Penelope escaping a high security prison, that's not very surprising, is it?
Again,
Pretty
though,
much,
it's really disappointing.
Finally retired from thieving and took a long nap. Then he dreamed up a lucrative new business. Parking his camel around town, he sold snacks to hungry customers.
I mean, it works, so why not? Also, don't question why the camel is anthropomorphic.
Like it's Sonic.
After being locked up, Miss Decibel decided to make some changes. She had the horn removed from her trunk, enrolled in anger management classes, and began teaching music to other prisoners.
At least she got cured from that, I guess.
That's nice. Also, Tio, if Disney Logic taught me anything, it's that other sea creatures are horrified when their friends get eaten. See Little Mermaid, for example.
Dimitri returned to his globe-trotting ways as a celebrity scuba diver, and even launched a new line of fashion wear. He's so
and he still got the girls.
The bunny girls.
Like you said, this guy is basically like Steve Buscemi. How? He can't keep getting away with it.
I get the feeling from the people who made this game would be better off just staying at home with their Playboy magazines instead of making this game, because, like, those bunny girl thing, yeah, someone clearly has a...
Anyway, what became of Paradox?
And everything was donated to the city of Paris. I'm told his cell was modified to be completely odor-proof. I suppose that's good for the guards, since he's going to be living there for a very long time.
Alas. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the credits for the Where Are We Now segment. So before we do our final thoughts, unless you want to save it, well, no, there is a post. Yes, there is a post-credit scene, but I saved it at the very end of the extras because there is something that needs to be talked about that too. So yeah, I guess we can save it for that, especially because this party itself is already over. So stay tuned for the credits where I look at the treasures, the alternate costumes, and everything you can unlock with collecting the mask, and that post-credit scene. See ya.
See you then.
Yeah.